Hello, and welcome to another edition of Listens of the Month. Alright, this is a monthly thing I do. I think you already know what the deal is. A couple things are different. Aftershock is in a few days. I'm so excited. Pantera ended up dropping out. That's kind of lame, but they got replaced with Stone Temple Pilots. Even though they were there last year too, it'd be nice to see them, I guess. Let's go ahead and get her going. Let's make myself smaller here. Starting off the month with Flogging Molly's first album, Swagger. Strongly recommend this one. I think it's their best album. It goes so hard. Like it's so great. It's so whimsical. It has so many great songs on it. And actually saw them at the beginning of the month too, with the Bronx and what was the other band? I forget what the other band was, but they were all great. Flogging Molly especially. Good show, great album, love them. And Ashes of the Wake celebrated a birthday, I believe, and I strongly recommend this one too. Longtime favorite album of mine. It's not my favorite Lamb of God album, but it's so great from front to back. There's really no skippable songs. So many tracks go so hard. Hourglass, The Faded Line, Omerta, Now You've Got Something to Die For. Break You is underrated, and so is the title track. I love the title track of this. I think my favorite song overall has to be Remorses for the Dead. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Then I listened to Echoes of Silence again from the weekend, and this is my album of the month. Like, I was listening to a bunch of these songs pretty much all month, and it's really, really good. Whether it's the great cover of Dirty Diana, or Montreal, or Initiation, which is just so sexy and intense. Same old song, great vocals on that one. Or Next, it's just heart-wrenching stuff. This is arguably the weekend's best work. Love it a whole bunch. Strongly recommend. Then I listened to this little thing for the first time. It's a collaboration between Sub Focus and Wilkinson, a couple favorite drum and bass artists of mine who did a collaboration effort called Portals. And it's a really neat little album. Nothing too stand out, but there were a handful of songs in this that I actually really did enjoy. That gave another listen to The Hunter. This is the first Mastodon album I heard front to back. I actually bought it on CD when it came out. Just the standard edition, though. This was the deluxe edition, which included the tracks The Ruiner and Deathbound. If you haven't seen the music video for Deathbound, I strongly recommend that. Yeah, lots of great songs on here. It's not their best work, but it really is like consistent. It's really straightforward, whether it be songs like Black Tongue or Curl of the Burl, which is just so damn catchy and groovy. Blasteroid goes hard. Stargasm's great. Octopus Has No Friends. Just great riffs all around. Dry Bone Valley is probably overall like my favorite song on here, and the title track is great. All right, Queens of the Stone Age is playing at Aftershock, so this whole month was pretty much just getting accustomed to the work. Their first album, the self-titled album here, is pretty good. I actually really like the song If Only. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that one might have been a single. There's still little hints of Caius here and there. It's got a very stoner edge to it, which I really appreciate. Yeah, real consistent front to back. Dug it quite a bit. Then I think The Sound of Perseverance just celebrated its 25th anniversary, and it's still such a great album. Real great songs, infectious guitar parts, just shrill, shrieking vocals. Love Flesh and the Power It Holds. Just great track. Obviously, Spirit Crusher. Yeah, every single song on here is great. But above and beyond all of them is Voice of the Soul, one of my favorite songs of all time. And move along, give a first time listen to Limp Bizkit's Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavor Water. Yeah, overall a pretty hype effort, I guess you could say. Lots of energetic songs. Obviously, My Way and Rollin' the Air Raid Vehicle are staples. Great songs. My Generation is great. Hot Dog goes really hard. Yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. It's a landmark new metal album. All right, and I think Injustice for All just celebrated its birthday too. And I ended up giving a listen to this with the context of it was a YouTube video where some dude was just playing through all the bass tracks. So it's like there's actually bass behind each of the songs, and that definitely gave this album a whole lot more dynamic than what I'm used to, because I've been familiar with this album since I was Stillborn, honestly. And it remains to be my favorite Metallica album overall. Dyer's Eve is one of the greatest thrash songs ever created, period. And one sounds so good with a bass underneath. There are a lot of really underrated songs in here. Don't really care for Harvester of Sorrow. I think that one's a bit overrated. But Afraid of Society too is just so great. And Blackened, yeah. To Live is to Die, damn it. Like, that song was a big influence for me when I first started playing guitar. Like, someday I want to play that. And to this day, I still haven't learned it. the acoustic part at the beginning, yeah. Alright, New Dying Fetus, motherfuckers. Make Them Beg for Death. Holy crap, this album's so damn good. Ended up listening to it twice in September. So great. Throw Them in the Van, Feast of Ashes. There's signature Dying Fetus sound is just littered throughout this album. It goes so hard. Compulsion for Cruelty, Unbridled Fury. Just excellent all the way throughout. Really dug this one quite a lot. It's succinct, even more so than Wrong One to F With. Definitely a must listen for tech death and slam nerds for sure. Like the slams that are on this thing are just these frantic, frenetic, just doodly guitar parts over just incredible drumming. It's great. All right, then gave a listen again to the newest offering from Deathclock, Death Album 4. Listened to it twice in September, and honestly, I think this is the weakest Death album overall. There's a lot of signature Deathclock material here. Aortic Desecration is still a killer song. I Am the Beast is solid as well as was SOS. But a lot of the material here ends up being a little bit forgettable, not as potent as past releases, and it does sound just more like Brendan Small and Gene Hoglan putting together a Deathclock album rather than, oh, this is the thriving force that is Nathan Explosion, Scar Squigelf, Pickles, Toki, and Murderface. Maybe it's because I don't really have any episodes to attach these songs to, but I mean, I don't know, this one was just a little bit lacking in my opinion. It's still good, but I mean, even them tuning down to A sharp rather than C standard really didn't make this album pop as much as I wish it did. Still looking forward to seeing them at Aftershock, even though I have to miss most of Korn's set for it. Black Label Society, Blessed Hell Ride. Love this album a lot. Not my favorite from them, but it's got their biggest hit, Stillborn. A lot of great songs like Doomsday Jesus, Funeral Bell, Black and Waters is a favorite of mine. The title track, Suffering Overdue. Lots of groove on this one, really succinct, very solid album. Then give a listen to Heaven and Hell for the first time. Yeah, first album with Ronnie James Dio from Black Sabbath. I kind of do agree with Zakk Wylde that they should have named this, they should have just retired the Black Sabbath name, even if it is those guys with Ronnie James Dio on vocals, because this isn't really like any of their past work. It's really different. Like, it's not very riff driven, if I remember correctly, but there are great vocals on here. There are great songs. Neon Nights is pretty good. The title track is great. Die Young is a fantastic track. But overall, I'm kind of meh on it. It's not bad. It's just not exactly what I look for in Black Sabbath. But we'll see as I move along more throughout the discography. Alright, The Weeknd, House of Balloons, his very first mixtape. Yeah, I love the shit out of this mixtape, even though there are a few songs I don't really care for. I've been playing the title track / Glass Table Girls a whole bunch, as well as Wicked Games. That's easily going to be one of my top tracks for Spotify this year. The Morning is beautiful, like great instrumental. Even though a lot of the lyrics on this project are very crude, kind of adolescent in a way. It's still a very solid project with a lot of great songs. High for This, What You Need are great. Yeah, very solid. Alright, next up, from Queens of the Stone Age, Rated R. A bit like the first album, but the sound blossoms a little bit. They can become a bit more bolder, a bit more energetic. Feel Good Hit of Summer is great. Lost Art of Keeping a Secret. Yeah, a little bit bolder than the first album. I actually kind of liked it. Alright, give a first time listen to Amy Winehouse's Back to Black. This is one I've been meaning to actually visit for quite some time, given its notoriety, I suppose you could say. And I dug this one quite a lot, honestly. Obviously, big hit, Rehab is how I'm familiar with her. And the title track, just obviously big hit, great track as well. Me and Mr. Jones, You Know I'm No Good, Just Friends, also great songs. Dug this one quite a lot. Really no bad songs on here at all. Alright, speaking of no bad songs, strongly recommend one of my favorite albums of all time. I've said enough great, amazing things about it. I love this album so friggin' much. Gojira, From Mars to Sirius. Go listen to it right now if you haven't. Love it, love it, love it. Alright, third release from Whitechapel, A New Era of Corruption. Haven't listened to it in a while. I think it might have celebrated its birthday. I could be totally wrong. I probably just decided to listen to this on a whim since it's been a while. And they don't really visit it that often. They don't ever really play any songs off of this album live, like pretty much ever anymore. Which is a shame, because there's a lot of great killer songs on here. Breeding Violence, Reprogrammed to Hate with Chino Moreno, Murder Sermon, Unnerving, Single File to Dehumanization. It is a killer record. It actually used to be my favorite, but it has gone down a few notches. But it is truly a solid album from front to back. A deathcore classic. Alright, Meshuggah with Koloss. Strongly recommend this one. This album is so unbelievably gargantuan, heavy, crushing. Even if it is like a little overcompressed, the songs just hit so hard. And there's not one distinct sound or pace. You really got a variety of tracks on here that go in all sorts of different directions, and that's what I really appreciate about this album. It is what makes it my second favorite Meshuggah album, like, for sure. Can't tell you how many times I've listened to Demiurge throughout my life, especially during high school. Like that song really made my affection for Meshuggah blossom. And The Demon's Name of Surveillance has been a long-time favorite of mine. The triplet double bass drumming that's just like constant throughout the entire song. That's like the foundation of the whole song. Incredible. Goes so hard. And other crushing tracks like Break Those Bones Too Soon, Give It Motion, I Am Colossus, Morrow, Swarm. I would love to see Swarm played live. Like, they're going to be around here in late November, and I'm so excited. And Do Not Look Down, I maintain to this day, is literally probably the heaviest groove in 4/4 time ever written. It's so great. It's such an odd riff, but it's literally just 4/4. And that's the case with a lot of Meshuggah. Love this album, strongly recommend. Alright, Metallica, 72 Seasons, gave it another listen, and I still think it's very mid. Room of Nightmares and Too Far Gone, I think, are the coolest tracks on here. If Darkness Had the Sun, it works, but like just the fact that like the intro is just so basic and simple, like rudimentary, it's so simple. It sounds like a beginner's class, like for like practicing like triplets. I don't know. There are other good songs too. I think the title track is pretty solid. Lux Eterna is still really good. Crown of Barbed Wire is solid. Everything else is just meh. Primus, Pork Soda. I don't think this one's nearly as solid all the way through as their previous two albums. And it's been a while since I've listened to this one front to back, but it still has some great tracks. Obviously, My Name is Mud, Welcome to This World, DMV, Bob, Mr. Crinkle. And the title track is quite a experimental trip, honestly. So is like a lot of this record, and I kind of appreciate that. A lot of it is very jammy, that's for sure. All right, In Flames, Lunar Strain, and Subterranean, which I'm about to move on to right here. I'm honestly like really impressed with like just how good Lunar Strain actually friggin' is. Like, it's so good front to back. Like, it's well balanced. It flows so well. It has great songs. There's really nothing bad on here at all. And I think the same goes for Subterranean, to a lesser extent, in my opinion. But these are like a package deal, since Subterranean is like an EP. Really great stuff. I very much thoroughly enjoyed listening to these two. Yeah, lots of great songs that are all throughout these two releases. Polyphia, their EP, The Most Hated. A little different for them. Like, it's basically like their signature style. It's a little bit flashy, but it's mostly just over these like electronic hip hop trap-ish beats. So this album, this little EP does bounce. It bounces pretty well. I actually like this one quite a bit. It was pretty neat. And listen to another EP here in preparation for seeing Wheel with Vola, which was an amazing show. Both of them were amazing. Even the band Bent Knee, which I was unfamiliar with, put on like a stellar show. Just so tight, all of them, every single band. Wheel and their EP Rumination, 3 songs on here. They played Blood Drinker and Impervious, which were just great. They slowed down the outros of Blood Drinker, and I lost my friggin' mind. I went total cuckoo bananas, just ape mode initiated. Really dig these guys. Really solid EP. Alright, so the newest offering from 30 Seconds to Mars, the Leto Brothers. It's the end of the world, but it's a beautiful day. Now, it's better than America, but it's not saying much. Overall, I do not recommend this one. It's a lot of generic retail store pop, very much Post Malone-esque. Any top 40 pop artist could have assembled these songs and put them together. It's like the last two albums should have just been Jared Leto doing a solo project, you know? They do sort of kind of harken back a little bit to the sound of maybe like Love, Lust, Faith, and Dreams, just a tad on a couple tracks here and there. And Avalanche actually sounds a lot more like This Is War, which I kind of appreciate. It's probably my favorite track here. It's not terrible, it's not hideously offensive, but any hopes I had of them kind of harkening back to that This Is War sound, which is my favorite album from them and easily one of my favorite albums of all time, it's kind of just evaporated with this album, because I already gave up on them ever sounding like their first two albums, Self-Titled and Beautiful Lie, long ago. But I did listen to it twice, and it was better upon second listen, but it's still uninteresting and derivative. Like, it's not bold or grand at all, but whatever. Alright, newest one from Baroness. Stone is the title of this one. And this one has a really, really great production on it. I think a lot, like, the instrumentation is very well balanced. The performances on this one, just all across the board, especially the vocals. The harmonized vocals take center stage throughout this whole album. It's probably their least heavy album, arguably, next to Green. But there's still a lot of quality on here. Last Word is still a solid track. I love the way that Beneath the Rose goes into the choir and goes into the dirge. Really solid track. I think Beneath the Rose is probably my favorite on here. But there's a lot of good stuff like scattered throughout this album. I mean, even if the last half of the album is not nearly as strong as the first half, Magnolia is still a good track. Not my favorite Baroness release. I listened to it twice, but it's still pretty solid, and I do look forward to seeing some of these songs performed live. Overall, it's pretty solid. Next up, we got Chevelle's first album, Point Number One. I listened to this a couple times in September as well. A lot of the album is very, I would say like half of it is mostly like clean guitars, very low-key, kind of awkward passages and songs. There are a few good tracks here and there, a lot of good moments, but most of it is kind of boring and uninteresting. The production on this one's very weak, just not very good at all. I do like the title track quite a bit, and I think the song Prove to You actually goes pretty hard and can fit pretty much like on any other future Chevelle releases. But yeah, overall, not a very good album. Alright, next up is Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf. Their biggest release, mostly due to the hit No One Knows, which I think is probably my favorite, just overall my favorite Queens of the Stone Age song. The drumming from Dave Grohl on that one is just so good. The song is just a classic rock masterpiece at this point. And the album is great. Like, from front to back, it's so consistent. There's really no bad songs. The production quality is massive. Just loud and bombastic. Just epic, edgy, great songs. You Think I Ain't Worth a Dollar, but I Feel Like a Millionaire. Go With the Flow, First It Giveth. Just throughout this whole thing. And what I really, really like about this album is its flow, its consistency. There's like a mock radio broadcast, like fake disc jockeys doing like little interludes in between songs for most of the tracks here, and it just works so well. It's really funny. It's real tongue in cheek. It's really self-aware. It's really makes a statement about like just consumerism and just radio broadcasting and like the whole industry as a whole. Like, it makes it really interesting for a front to back listen. I really dug this album quite a lot. Alright, next up, strongly recommend Perfect Circle, 13th Step, one of my favorite albums of all time. From front to back, absolutely love it. Just adore this album to death. I could probably skip Crimes and maybe Lullaby, but overall, like, some of the greatest songs ever written. Absolutely love this album to death. I think it celebrated its 20th anniversary. And, like, yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. Next up, Aborted. I think this is their second album, Engineering the Dead. Really brutal front to back. Just tons of heavy, heavy moments. Like, this album really doesn't let up in terms of ferocity and just riffage. It's great. It is awesome. It is death metal personified. After that, I listened to the very first release, I believe, from Suffocation, their EP Human Waste. Real chaotic, great vocals. Dug this one quite a lot. There's only a few tracks on it, but a couple of them are like really, really stand out to me. I dug it quite a lot. After that, moved on to Napalm Death and their album Harmony Corruption. Yeah, the production on this one was very thin, real like fuzzy and low end and beefy, not really like professional quality at all. But I think kind of adds to the charm of this. It's very rudimentary, grindcore, great for its time. Like it was obviously like really friggin' groundbreaking. And there was definitely a lot to like here. I actually dug this one quite a lot. Very great moments all throughout. The vocals are great as well. The lyrics and the final track of the album, "Suffer the Children," is great and it actually has an EP attached to it. So I gave a listen to that as well. Really good. And a couple extra songs tacked on were solid as well. Then I listened to Limp Bizkit's "Results May Vary," and I didn't really like this one that much at all. I do not recommend this one. A lot of it's very boring, uninteresting, kind of mopey ballads just littered throughout, especially throughout like the middle portion of the album. It just got kind of tiring. I was kind of like really over it. There are a couple like really good like energetic songs, like "Eat You Alive" and "Head for the Barricade," but most of it is just very bland. And up until like the final moments of the album, where their cover of "Behind Blue Eyes" comes in, like that is a genuinely good cover in my opinion, and I dug that one quite a bit. But yeah, I could really leave this album. All right, after that we got Parkway Drive and Atlas, a really solid metalcore release. It kind of expands a bit more on the metalcore of their previous couple releases. A bit more accessible. I think the album starts off really strong. It's a really strong mission statement in the first few tracks. I think Dark Days is like really heavy. There's some really heavy moments like throughout this album. I think they deliver quite well with what they have here. Then Megadeth's "Peace Sells, But Who's Buying?" celebrating a birthday. And yeah, it's my second favorite Megadeth release. It's great. It's a classic thrash album. Dug it quite a bit. Can't really say enough good things about it. It's just really good. Like some of the greatest thrash songs like ever written when it comes to Megadeth, and especially their earlier material. Whether it's The Conjuring or Devil's Island or the hit "Peace Sells," "Wake Up Dead." Good Morning Black Friday has always been a long time favorite of mine from them for sure. Moving on from there, give a full listen for the first time to Guns N' Roses' "Use Your Illusion 1." I think there's a lot of good songs on this one for sure. Didn't really care for a lot of it. Didn't really have a lot of the punch that the first album did. But still, "November Rain" is obviously a classic for a reason. I think "Don't Cry" is a great song. "Garden of Eden" is pretty cool. But overall, it's all right. Not really my thing. Then I listened to the third Led Zeppelin album. I really like how folky this one is. This one's very folky, a little bluesy. Obviously, "Immigrant Song" is like a proto-metal classic at this point. Love that song to death. I think "Since I've Been Loving You" is a great song. Overall, not as into this one as, say, other works from Led Zeppelin, but it's still a good album. Then I listened to Death Heaven and their album New Bermuda, the follow-up to Sussy. And there are a lot of great moments on this one for sure. I think "Luna" is a fantastic track. When they really deliver on the black metal elements on this one, that's when this one shines like the most, in my opinion, because they really do like broaden their sound on this one quite a bit to incorporate a lot more post-rock pretty passages that are really hit and miss, but the edge on this one I sunk into and appreciated quite a lot. All right, and we got Queens of the Stone Age with "Lullabies to Paralyze." Not as bold as their previous releases. It's a bit more stripped back, but I've loved the song in my head since Need for Speed Underground 2. Love that song to death. Really hope they play it when I see them. Little Sister's a good track. I dug the song "Burn the Witch," and "Everybody Knows You're Insane" is a good song too. But overall, not as bold as, I guess, previous releases. It wasn't as engaged. Not a bad album though. All right, new album from Cannibal Corpse, "Chaos Horrific." Really pummeling, punishing songs all throughout. Really brutal album cover right here. Yeah, very sludgy on this one, very riffy, like really like chaotic guitar riffs, and I kind of like appreciate the aspect of this one quite a bit. A lot of real mid-pace songs compared to like the thrashy elements of Violence Unimagined. I really appreciate that quite a lot. "Bloodblind" was a killer track. "Drain You Empty" is a killer, sludgy, heavy outro track. There's quite a lot on here to love for sure. They still got it. Cannibal Corpse is still releasing quality albums for sure. All right, new The Artist Murder album, "Godlike." I actually was not going to listen to this one until I heard that CJ was kicked out of the band. More on that, check out my video on them. And I already felt regret upon like just hitting play on the very first song, because immediately I heard "Broken Cog" by Meshuggah, and I was just like, but I powered through it, and Actually, this one's pretty damn solid. It didn't take until like Karis, I believe is the name of the song, for this album to be like, okay, now it has my attention, because that's a killer song right there. I think Less Than the Pain is also a killer song. Godlike kicks ass as well. Yeah, overall, I actually did like this one. I think it's pretty solid. An improvement on the last couple albums of theirs for sure. Now I'm actually like looking forward to seeing where they go from here. All right, we got Limp Bizkit and a short little album here called The Unquestionable Truth Part 1. The mark of the return of Wes Borland after he was not present on Results May Vary. And it's a solid little kind of like introspective-ish little album from these guys. Some real hard, heavy moments. Like the Propaganda has some heavy riffs in it for sure. The Truth is great. The Priest is like pretty, I guess, reflective in a way on society and religion at large. Yeah, interesting project. I kind of wish they would do like a part 2 to this and see, like, I mean, it is kind of like uncharacteristic of them, because they are like a kind of like a party band in a way, you know, but it's different, and I appreciate different. All right, gave a re-listen to Quest for Fire from Skrillex. This album slaps so hard. So many great songs on here. Ratata, Leave Me Like This, Rumble, Tears, just really great production throughout here. Zeta goes super hard. Like the combination of folky, tribal world music flair and the vocals and the production and the drops and the instrumentation. Love that track. Probably my favorite track on here. I really like this album a whole bunch. Paired with that was his album Don't Get Too Close, and this is one of the blandest, most uninteresting batch of songs that could literally be, you know, replace it with any producer. Like it's retail store, pop, dance, just not very good. I do not recommend this one. I really didn't get into it like pretty much at all. After that, we got Deftones' Ohms. I just wanted to listen to it again. I mean, why not? It's the latest release from them. It's very, very solid. It holds up compared to a whole lot of their other material. What are you doing? Go give it a listen. Strongly recommend. All right, Queens of the Stone Age, Era Vulgaris. They broadened their sound a little bit on this one. It's a bit quirkier. It's got a lot of catchy, hookier songs. It is a bit of an odd one, though, but there are still good tracks in here. Make It With You, Sick, Sick, Sick. Not a bad listen whatsoever. All right, gave Blizzard of Oz a full back-to-front listen for the first time. And it's a solid rock album. I mean, obviously the big hits, Crazy Train, classic. Mr. Crowley, I Don't Know, Suicide Solution, all great songs. Goodbye to Romance is solid. No Bone Movies is kind of funny. At this point, I'm interested in following the career of Ozzy more than Black Sabbath at this point in the career, since I'm still giving pretty much everything up to this point like a first-time listen. So, yeah. All right, Palms. 10th Anniversary Edition just came out. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. Strongly recommend this one. They have, even though I don't have a record player, I want to get this so bad. They have a vinyl release of this album, but their 2 newest songs. Opening titles starts out the album, and then end credits ends the album. And I want it so bad. I want it so bad. Every single song is so good. I really, really, really want them to put out more music. I love it to death. All right, gave the EP Haunting the Chapel another listen from Slayer. Yeah, still very much solid. A big stepping stone from Show No Mercy to Hell Awaits. Chemical Warfare is obviously a classic killer thrash song. Captor Sin is great. Yeah, Slayer, enough said. All right, we got See You Space Cowboy, giving it a listen to the correlation between entrance and exit wounds. I'm not sure if I like this one more than the first release, but there's still a lot of killer stuff on here, and it is somewhat varied enough to make it a very cohesive listen. There's a lot of killer songs on here, especially just total barn burners, like Put On a Show, Don't Let Them See You Fall. Holy crap. Really looking forward to seeing them in a few days. All right, then I listened to this band called God Complex and their self-titled EP. And this is real heavy, like metalcore-ish, beat-down, hardcore, real just brutal riffage. Created Sick is the name of this one. And I dug it quite a bit. Wasn't bad at all. We got Decapitated. Carnival is Forever is the name of their first, I guess, reunion album. They came back after the tragic accident. And while there's a lot of stuff on here I like, it's not nearly as interesting to me as their previous releases. There's some killer songs on here, killer riffs. Homo Sum is just crazy good. Yeah, not a bad listen, but not my favorite from them. All right, we got Humanity's Last Breath, their second album, and it's their self-titled. This is definitely a huge step up from the more somewhat generic deathcore sound of Structures Collapse, their first album. This sounds more like the stuff that they're doing nowadays. It's just absolutely brutal. I dug this one quite a bit. Like, there's a great blend of like solid deathcore songwriting and just pummeling breakdowns, great riffs, great passages, brutal vocals. This one's really good. Like, this is like killer right here. Dug this one quite a lot. Then listen to the full album for the first time of 23 from Blonde Redhead. See, for a couple of years now, I've been playing the title track pretty much like all the time, as well as Spring, Come Summer, Fall, Dr. Strangelove as well. And yeah, those ones still end up being like my favorites on this album. It is a bit more, it's not as good as Misery as a Butterfly. I think some of the ideas on this album are more, I guess, of the same vein, not as broad and expansive, I guess you could say. But there's still a lot of good stuff on here. Even if it's, I don't think their best album, it's still very solid. All right, then we got Like Clockwork from Queens of the Stone Age. I dig this one quite a bit. I can't decide if this is my favorite or not because it is so good. Like, there are no bad songs in this whatsoever. It really is like just a great album from front to back. Whether it's I Sat by the Ocean, or If I Had a Tail, or the title track is really good too. My God is the Sun. It's just great. All right, and we got In Flames with The Jester Race. I don't know if I like this one more than Lunar Strain, Subterranean, honestly. But I do think some of their best songs end up on here. The title track, The Jester's Dance is the song I'm thinking of. The title track's good, but Dead Eternity is another one I really like. Moonshield's really good. Colitis, Disarmed David's, Gyroscope. Dug it quite a lot. Good to listen to it again. Good to listen to this one again. I was in this Swedish melodic death metal mood. Slaughter of the Soul from At the Gates. Very heavy album, really riffy. I dug this one quite a lot. It was great to listen to it again. It just chock full of great songs, great riffs, great vocals, very heavy, just so well put together. It's a classic for a reason. Then listen to the very first full-length release from Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten. Yeah, a bit in line with like the morbid Angel style of death metal, but with like the very first slam passages ever, like on Leads of Inveracity. And Infecting the Crypts is another killer song as well. Jesus Wept. Really good from front to back. I dug it quite a lot. And then, holy shit, Aborted with Gormageddon, The Saw, and The Carnage Done. I think I was listening to Chris Garza's podcast, and I think I remember him really talking this album up, and that's what made me start like listening to his discography. But I didn't like remember it until I finished this album, and I was just like, holy motherfucking shitballs, dude. This is one of the heaviest albums I have ever listened to. It's like, especially death metal wise. Like, the production is just, it cuts like razor blades. The riffs, the guitar tones, the drums, it's so punchy. It hits so hard from front to back, and it's just relentless, just chaotic, just mind-blowing, especially the title track alone. Just listen to that, like, holy crap. Strongly recommend this one for sure. All right, then we got Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 2. I think I probably like this one slightly more in some ways than Use Your Illusion 1. But there's still like quite a few tracks on this one I don't care for at all. But still, songs like Civil War and Estranged are undeniable. You Could Be Mine is a killer rock song. Yesterday's is good. So Fine. Like, I actually dig that one quite a lot. But I think my favorite song on here is Locomotive. That's always been like a long-time favorite song of mine from them since I was a little kid. That song has no business rocking as hard as it does. And apparently it was written on a Gibson Explorer, and like not long after the release of Appetite for Destruction, which makes a whole lot of sense because that song could easily fit on that album. All right, moving on to Chevelle's Wonder What's Next. Such a gigantic step up in quality as their sophomore release compared to their first album. Yeah, and it shows. Even though this album's very front-loaded. Like, some of their best songs ever like appear on this album, but the back half of the album's not nearly as interesting as the first half. Family System is so friggin' heavy. Comfortable Liar is a great song. Closure is so damn good. Send the Pain Below is a solid like track that deserves all the praise it gets. And obviously The Red as well. Like, The Red is so damn good, undeniable. And the title track, damn, like it's so riffy, and that little bridge is just so angry. Love it. But everything after that, like that halfway point, don't really care too much for. All right, then we got Parkway Drive and their album Ire. Am I the only one that just notices like just a gigantic difference in this in their earlier work? Because a lot of this is just really like you take motivational boomer Facebook memes and turn them into song lyrics, and that's kind of what this feels like. It's not as like punishingly heavy as their earlier stuff. It's very much like you play this at a festival, and it resonates. You know, it's got the millennial woes in it. There are some good heavy grooves throughout this album, but overall, I really wasn't that into it, like pretty much at all. I don't know what went up with this one, but yeah, I guess this is what people mean when they talk about octane core, which is I guess a good word to describe it. I gotta go to work, so I'll continue this later this evening. Hey, hello, what's up? I'm back. I'm off work, so we're going to continue with this thing. Not sure if I'm going to actually finish editing this and put it out before I go to Aftershock, but whatever. Really busy the next few days. Moving along here, we got Starboy from The Weeknd. First time listen for me. And yeah, it kind of follows in the same vein as Beauty Behind the Madness. A couple real big pop hits that go over so well. Starboy is probably like what first introduced me to The Weeknd because I absolutely love Daft Punk, and I'm really glad that they collaborated because like Starboy is such a great friggin' track, like without a doubt. But there are other good songs on here as well. The Star Girl interlude is good. False Alarm, Reminder, Sidewalks, Secrets. It's a solid project. Not really my favorite from him, from what I can tell. But it's not bad, just a little bit long. And I re-listened to Kissland, just to get myself a bit more familiarized with it. And I still kind of like it. It's basically like even more intimate, sensual, like stylings of the trilogy, the first 3 mixtapes. It's done so pretty well. There's no really big standout tracks, like no big hits or anything like that. Live For is okay. I do really like Belong to the World. And the title track is probably easily my favorite on here. I go back to that song very, very often. And Pretty is a really good track too. I actually really like that one a lot. Professional's good, Adaptation's good. Overall, not his best work, but I like it for what it is. Alright, brand new Code Orange album. And upon first listen, I was really just like, didn't really know what to make of it at all. I actually just listened to it again today. And it's definitely not my favorite Code Orange record, but it is actually very, very solid. It really expands upon the experimentation that we saw on Underneath. There's still a whole lot of edge there, but there's still a lot of wearing their influences on their sleeves pretty much all over this record. It's very random, but it's still a neat little project. I think they are still very much hungry and looking to broaden their scopes of influence, broaden their horizons, expand their sound. Even if like more and more they kind of shy away from like just straight up hardcore punk and like the metallic hardcore that they're known for, but there's still like plenty of that on here. Theater of Cruelty has a lot of that. Groovy My Replacement, The Game, Splinter the Soul, a Drone opting out of the Hive, the Mask of Sandy Slips. I think Take Shape and Mirror are probably my favorite tracks on this. Just really well done. Like honestly, I mean, there's a few tracks I really don't care for, but it's a very solid album. All right, we got Polyphia, New Levels, New Devils. I dug it. I dug it quite a bit. It is a bit more stripped back than their more louder, like rockin' tunes that I'm more familiar with, more accustomed to. Very much clean, driven guitars on this one. Like not much gain used. But it works for them because the playing is still absolutely fantastic. The album's consistent from front to back. But overall, my favorite song has to be Goat. Like that's the one that sticks out to me the most. And can't wait to see that one perform live. Then we got Limp Bizkit, Gold Cobra. Yeah, there's a few tracks in here that I'm actually looking forward to seeing being performed live as well. Like this is a really good return to form album. Like just straight up rockin' heavy metal bangers with Fred Durst doing what Fred Durst does. I honestly feel like he drags some of these tracks down. He is kind of the weakest link. But they wouldn't be Limp Bizkit without him, honestly. I mean, there's some really good tracks on here, like the title track, Bring It Back, Get a Life, Auto-Tunage, Shotgun. I mean, really cringe lyrics, but it's just good, dumb fun, honestly. All right, then we got Queens of the Stone Age, Villains. I actually listened to this when it came out upon recommendation of a mutual friend who I went to high school with. And as a front-to-back listen, it's okay. I really, really, really like the way you used to do. Love that track. I go back to it pretty often. Feet Don't Fail Me Now is really good. Domesticated Animals is a good song. But a lot of the songs in here kind of drag, don't really go anywhere interesting. This might be my least favorite release from them, but really, still really good. But still really looking forward to seeing them. Then I listened to Deaf Heaven's Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, and I just don't really see the hype behind this one. To me, it's tremendously boring. There's a whole lot more like generic, uninteresting, played out post rock passages than there is like black metal, and it's fine, but the album just drags for me. Honeycomb and Clint are the only songs I really care about that I actually really enjoyed. I didn't like this one too much. It was kind of boring. Then final listen of September, Parkway Drive with Reverence. And it just kind of continues with the Ire sound. A bit more honed in, a bit more tweaked, a little bit more tightened up, a bit more interesting, but it's still, feel good, like power pop metal, kind of popcore-esque, octane core type of metalcore that I just don't really care for. However, there are some songs in here that I did really enjoy and that do really go hard that I don't really mind going back to. Absolute Power is a pretty freaking killer song, honestly. Pray is a pretty solid track, and Kronos is pretty cool too. It's better than Ire, I will say that. Alright, that is it for September. Look at that, oh my goodness. So yeah, I'll be working both of my jobs the next few days because Aftershock is in 4 days. So I'm going to be making a bunch of money before then. By the time Aftershock comes, I'm going to be beardless. And by the time you actually see this video, it'll probably be after Aftershock, so I'm not going to have time to edit this at all. I got a whole lot of other stuff going on. But have you listened to any of these albums at all? Let me know down in the comments below. Check out my other videos if you haven't. Subscribe if you haven't as well. Stay posted for new videos. I'm going to be doing an Aftershock vlog. I'm going to be recording sets and, me walking around the park. I'm going to be dropping acid during Tool and drugs for the rest of the weekend, probably. It's going to be absolutely wild. I'm looking forward to it very much. Be sure to leave a like and let me know your overall thoughts in the comments, or not. It just doesn't matter as long as you enjoy.